Israel Folau has been found guilty of a contract breach. Let's have a look. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Heiser Says. I've got my Stein here, and I thought this morning we'd read through the Israel saga. Now, if you're not familiar with this, Israel Folau is a world-class rugby player. And he was even, world-class AFL player. But, it's Australian footy, so it's not really world, is it? Nonetheless, he shared a tweet. Now, he's a devout Christian. And this is the tweet that he shared. And I will... Nope, that's not the tweet. That's the tweet. And I'll link to a video I did about this tweet right now. Boom, at 45 seconds in my video. And what we'll do... Let's just have a look. This is what he shared. So warning, drunks, homosexuals, adulterers, liars, fornicators, thieves, atheists, idolaters, hell awaits you, repent, only Jesus saves. So he shared this, or he posted this tweet. Now, rugby is saying that this isn't inclusive enough. Well, he's not being inclusive, representing the brand for Rugby Australia. But I'd say this pretty much includes all of us. All of us can fit one or several of these categories. I mean, who hasn't lied one time in their life? And that's the whole point of Christianity, is that sinners have a path to repentance, but nonetheless, not according to Rugby Australia. They don't agree with it. So let's have a read through this article from Fox Sports. So Isreal Folua found guilty of high-level breach of his contract in hearing, no sanctions issued yet. Now remember, if you watch my previous video, it's mentioned that there was no specific contract clause relating to this, to his social media. It was all a bit handshaky, verbally, and up in the air, but we'll see. So they obviously want to go him. They want to get rid of him, cut his contract, and it just makes you question the relationship between major sponsor Qantas and Rugby Australia. Maybe I'm getting my conspiracy hat on there, but, money talks. So Israel Folua's future in Australian rugby is looking increasingly grim after an independent panel determined that the Wallabies superstar committed a high-level breach of his contract. The three-person panel, Chair John West, QC, Rugby Australia representative Case Eastman, and Rupa appointed John Boltby, are now retired to decide on a sanction for Folua following an epic code of conduct hearing in Sydney. RA boss Raylene Castle issued Folua with a breach notice last month following his controversial social media post about homosexuals and other sinners threatening to tear up his 4-year, $4 million contract. Now notice how everything just focuses on homosexuals. What about everyone else in that post? Let's go back here. What about all the rest of us? We've been left out. I mean... While Folua may yet be spared the sacking, termination of his contract is now possible. So, had the panel deemed Folua's breach of Rugby Australia Players' Code of Conduct anything less than high level, the governing body would not have had the power to boot the 3-time John Eales medalist out of the game. Other lesser sanctions the 30-year-old now faces include suspension and or fine. The sanction is not expected to be handed down for several days, with Rugby Australia not offering a timetable on any decision. Folua has the right of appeal. The hearing was originally scheduled for one day last Saturday, then was extended into Sunday. It went into a third day on Tuesday. It ended as... Notice how they respected the public holiday for Labor Day, but not the religious day of Sunday. Just notice that. It shows you just where this organisation and pretty much where society is. It ended as the chairman of the New South Wales Waratahs, Folua's Super Rugby's franchise, called for common sense and a settlement. I think it's too late. I think they've made a stand. They now want to destroy him. I get that feeling. I really do. So here he is. It's a family church. His dad is a pastor as well. So this is a no-win situation for the game and fans, and I'd like to see it resolved as quickly as possible, Roger Davis told the Sydney Morning Herald newspaper. I think a settlement is a common sense approach. It would be smart. Well, no, the question is, should he even have to settle? Maybe they should have to pay to damaging his reputation. I mean, we're getting to a point now where freedom of speech is completely eroded. we're sharing a simple tweet like, are we going to head down the path of the UK where, Twitter posts can get old ladies arrested by police? Someone shared a video to me in New Zealand where the police are rocking up on Sunday to people's houses to talk to them because they've been identified in regards to the massacre there, just for posting things on Facebook. And that's the problem. We've got this Orwellian world here where we're observed all the time. I mean, I've got my phone here. I guarantee you it's recording me. When I do Google searches, ads will appear for those things. The government has the capacity now greater than ever to monitor how the masses are behaving. And if we're not behaving well enough, the coppers will turn up. If this goes for a long time, there are definitely no winners. I think it's already too late. I think it is already too late. There have also been reports in Australia media that Folua was offered $1 million, the reported amount of his annual salary, as a settlement on the first day, but he turned down the offer. So they wanted to pay him $1 million to go. Well, no, he can't. His faith is more important to him. Folua has played 73 test matches for Australia. In his most recent match for the Waratahs, Folua scored his 60th try, the most of any player in Super Rugby, breaking the record of former New Zealand winger Doug Howlett. In February, Folua signed a contract extension to remain with the Waratahs in Australian rugby until the end of 2022. Folua, as a devout Christian, has argued his contentious social media post contained a passage from the Bible. Well, yeah, it was referring to the Bible. The case has proved complex and divisive, pitting Folua's right to free of speech against the offence he has caused others. Well, see, that's the thing. Offence is taken. It's taken. It's not given. If you don't believe in Christianity, then why would you take offence to it? You should just be able to laugh it and mock it off. And I guarantee you a lot of the people that are saying, oh, offence, aren't Christians. Now, if you are one of the things on this list here, if you're doing one of these things and you're a Christian, then you very clearly need to repent. It's that simple. Okay? And depending on, your denomination, there's different paths to go through all of that. But in the end, it's all really simple and you need to repent. So you can't take offense to it if you're a Christian. Simple as that. So 7 Pacific Islander origin players have supported him, while others, including the Wallabies camp, have been critical. Oh, well, great. On Tuesday, Australia's first gay rugby club, the Sydney Convicts, joined condemnation of his stance. There's a gay rugby club? Why? I guess. Do you need to have a club that's just for gay people? Do they want to isolate themselves from everyone else? Or is it just like, a way to meet up other blokes? I mean, sure, no problem with that. Do they exclude heterosexuals from the club? I'm not interested enough to look. But, I mean, if your club is tied to your orientation, I would put more money that the fact that it's gay has more to do with attracting people to date. Tell me if I'm wrong, but anyway. As a proud gay man who's been a rugby supporter my entire life and a kid who idolized the Wallabies, there's a danger those comments could have real severe effects on kids' mental well-being, club president Don Ross told broadcaster ABC. He added the entire rugby community wants this to be dealt with and to move on. Well, no, not the entire rugby community. Several Pacific Islander players are supporting him. So no, sorry mate, that's not wrong there. The entire social justice SJW community wants this to be dealt with and moved on. I fixed your statement there. It's okay. You can pay me later. As well as the extraordinary length of the hearing, the cost of the case is also mounting, with the two parties thought to have shelled out an estimated $300,000 on legal bills since Saturday alone. How the hell can you rack up $300,000 on legal bills in like a couple of days? How is that possible? There's not even that many man hours in that time. What is going on? Is this a rort? Is this just a rort? It seems insane. Regardless of the panel's ultimate decision, the expenses are almost certain to keep piling up. Folua's Wallaby teammate, Quade Cooper, himself froze out last year by Queensland Red coach Brad Thorne, was asked early on Tuesday if he could see any way back for the stood-down star. I'm not too sure. There's something you would have to speak to his Waratah teammates, Brendan Foley, Nick Phillips, and Michael Hooper, and those guys about, Cooper said, adding that he empathized with Folua's fight. You feel for anyone who's going through a difficult patch in their life. Okay, now let's just pull this apart a bit and have a talk about it. Think about it. So here is a rugby league player, a rugby player, top notch. He expressed his personal beliefs on his personal Facebook, Twitter, and it's potentially cost him his career. I mean, I'm sure he'll be fine. He will probably go on to a pastor career, but think about it. Does your employer control your personal opinion or what you can say? Fortunately, I am, in my own business, so I can express my personal opinion on this platform. But, it will affect who will want to hire me and who will want to work with me. I'm not too worried about that because I think the people who are virtue signalers and social justice warriors are frankly pain in the ass clients. They, just so much bloody work to deal with, no common sense. And they want a cheap job on their, super energy efficient greenhouse, which will cost more than they can afford to build. So that's just my experience. But let's have a look at Alan Jones's take on this. Now, Alan Jones is a well-known Australian radio host and talk show host and commentator, and he's a former rugby coach for the Wallabies. And he got really angry at this. So former Wallabies coach Alan Jones has blown up in a furious on-air tirade after Isreal Folua was found guilty of a high-level breach of his contract last night. A 3-person independent panel, we've gone through that. We've gone, RA Boss, yep, we've gone through that. The 30-year-old devout Christian took to Instagram, it was Instagram, not Twitter, to proclaim hell awaits for drunks, homosexuals, adulterers, liars, fornicators, thieves, atheists, and idolaters. While Folua may yet be spared the sack, termination of his contract is now possible. Jones, who coached the Wallabies in the 1980s and now hosts 2GB's popular breakfast radio show, exploded on air this morning, saying the Orwellian treatment of the rugby star combined with various recent attacks on politicians painted a grim picture for the state of Australia. Well, yeah, he's looking back at, we just had an egging yesterday. We just had an egging yesterday, and I'll put a title card to that video I did about, Egg Girl's pathetic attack, where because she's a vegan, she was too weak to mount the strength to hit him, and her probably organic eggs, I'm assuming, or free-range eggs, had too thick shells. Turns out she looks like Meg from South Park. She had marijuana on her, and she was arrested, I found out now. She's being done for the assault and drug possession. How dumb would you be? Why would you carry a joint with you when you're going to do something like that? I mean, obviously she's not that smart. Anyway, back to this. The Australia that our ancestors fought for seems to be disappearing before our very eyes, Jones said. It prompts you to wonder what kind of society we're living in. Yeah, it really does. Nothing wrong with Israel. It's the society and those who persecute him who are sick. Yeah. But the cancer won't kill us. It's the cancer that will be removed, not Israel. The Australian people won't accept this. Yes, I think you're right. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. People are pretty apathetic. This is not the Australia our veterans fought for, and we're going to have to take our country back by argument and by democratic and peaceful processes, not by hate and revenge or vilification and intimidation. Is there still time? The problem is you can't argue with these people. I mean, we've got the climatists, a cult of climate change, people using children to push their political agenda, which is going to tremendously hurt our economy. You've got everyone on the left doing acts of violence. You've got Antifa, you got, CAR or whatever they're called. You've got people egging people. You've got people on the streets here of Brisbane getting mugged after Jordan Peterson events. Okay, so they've gone beyond the point of peaceful protest. We had peaceful protests here in Brisbane, March for Life. And it changed absolutely nothing. 30,000 people were there. They had a pro-abortion march and just a typical bunch of degenerate, weird-looking freaks that they'll get their life sorted, or you hope they'll get their life sorted in a couple of years, but compared to families, nice, boring, suburban families. But it didn't achieve anything, did it? That's the thing. I think people are losing faith in democracy and in peaceful protest. People need to vote to shift the window. They need to vote. I mean, here in my electorate, in Moreton, I think we've got Labor and the Greens, Liberal, and then I think 3 other right-leaning options on the House of Reps level. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. The Labor guys won it several times, but it's good to see. I'm saying that. I'm thinking that's a sign that people are getting frustrated. People are getting more involved, and I hope people will vote to shift. I hope they'll shift, because otherwise, what's happened here to Israel is a shift left of the Overton window. Okay, so Qantas has put their pressure on Rugby Australia. Now they're firing because of a post that he made on Instagram. Well, what do you think? Is it going to get any better? So I hope you're right there, Jonesy. I hope you're right. Jones also read from a speech politician Mark Latham is scheduled to give in New South Wales Parliament, calling it one of the most magnificent political speeches I've read. In the speech, according to Jones, Latham says, "How did our state and our nation ever come to this?" Well, yeah, that should be good. I'll have a look at that speech when I get a chance. Those claiming outrage have fabricated their position solely for the purpose of censorship. By excluding a committed Christian, they, Rugby Australia, are making their game less inclusive. No Australian should live in fear of the words they utter. That is fantastic. This is a stunning intrusion on workers' rights. Yeah, why aren't the unions behind him? Because they obviously don't care. It's interesting with Labor. Labor's taken this whole identity politics tangent, and I don't know what's going to happen with the Labor Party. I really hope they don't get up. I hope they do not get up. I would love to have probably a hung parliament with a lot of minors in the House of Reps. That's what I would want for. Minors in the Senate, minors in the House of Reps, hung parliament. So they got to make deals. That I think is our best chance going forward. Jones continued his attack on the Folua decision after reading Latham's words, saying he is now ashamed of the sport which he once played an integral role in. Isreal Folua, with my support and the support of millions of Australia, will take this fight every inch of the way, Jones said. Rugby union preaches diversity. They really mean uniformity. Yep, they preach inclusion, but they exclude Israel. We take oaths of office in every court of the land. The Prime Minister is sworn in with his hand on the Bible, the same Bible which Isreal Folua has quoted, and he now has his dignity, his integrity, his employment, his vocation, and his income stolen from him. Just shows you where it's heading. I coached Australian rugby. I was proud of it. I was proud of the boys. I was proud of everything we stood for. Today I'm ashamed of the people who've inherited our proud legacy. That's a hell of a statement there from Jones. And not many people can say something like that. The battle has just begun. It's a battle for all Australians. If we're not free to articulate our religious beliefs and quote from the Bible, and if we're not free to speak for fear that someone affects a hurt or is part of the offense industry, if that's where we've reached in this country, we've reached a dark place and we're all at risk. Well, I'd ask you, those of you watching this, how many of you are afraid to speak openly at work? How many of you are afraid to admit that your political leanings aren't in line with, modern social justice world or the contemporary groupthink that you're fed? How many of you would not dare to admit that you watch these type of videos to your work colleagues? Let me know in the comments. I'd be interested. Because frankly, I don't think I'm producing that controversial content. But, how many people would consider me a nutcase? Well, it's just because I'm bald. I think they're all discriminated. The best punishment Folua can now hope for is a suspension and or a fine. The sanction is not expected to be handed down for several days, with the RA not offering a timeline on the decision. Folua also has the right of appeal, a process which would involve a complex new 3-person panel being selected. Well, yes, maybe he should. Should he be sacked? Super Rugby's all-time legend, try scorer and 73-year-old Test stalwart for the Wallabies will be the first Australian athlete dismissed for expressing fundamentalist religious beliefs. Are they? Well, I guess they are fundamental to your religion. Even before it potentially reaches the courts, Folua's hearing has developed into one of the most drawn-out legal stoushes in Australian sports history. The hearing stretched 22 hours over 3 days, with any hope of a common-sense settlement, as New South Wales Waratahs captain Roger Davis had hoped for on Monday, blown out of the window by Tuesday night's sensational development. Folua spent more than twice as long holed up in the hearing than he has played for the Waratahs in 2019. The RA initially anticipated all evidence being heard in one day, with Sunday also reserved if more time was needed. The decision was expected to be handed down on Tuesday. Instead, the hearing resumed at the offices of Herbert Smith Freehill in Sydney CDB on Tuesday, after some of the brightest brains in the land spent the weekend arguing the complex case at RA headquarters. Is it really a complex case? Isn't it clear-cut discrimination based on religious grounds? I don't know. Maybe I'm not one of the brightest minds in the land. I don't understand. That could be it. Or maybe I don't want to live in a land where the brightest brains would suspend someone over something like this. I don't want a land like that. As well as the extraordinary length of the hearing, the cost of the case is also mounting. Well, yeah, 300 grand. Regardless of the panel's ultimate decision, the expenses are almost certainly to keep piling up. So yeah, we've read all of this. So guys, what do you think? Do you think it's fair what's happened to Folua? Do you think it's unfair what's happened to him? It seems like I'd like to hear Latham's speech. And remember, Latham used to be the head of the Labor Party. Now he's One Nation. It just shows you where the country's heading, where Labor is heading. And that's worrying, because that's one of the two majors here in our country, because Liberal just follows them to try and get their votes. So, yeah, where are we heading? Is this a sign of the future? Are people too scared to share anything on Instagram? I bet you if he shared something, quite graphic and about perhaps the Mardi Gras, maybe some fake sexualized scenes, I wonder what would happen there. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. Ding the bell to see my daily videos, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.